All right, so Troy, Quad Standard Labs here. Wanted to talk about our latest revision to the QSL Wind 3 Cinewhoop gimbal setup. This one is a gimbal setup, obviously. Our Wind 3 is the basis of this platform. It's a 3-inch proper Cinewhoop here. It can run full size. Well, not full size, but it can run, 2005 motors is what we run on it, 2800 kV with a 6S battery. And it flies great. You can fly your GoPro with it, obviously, and all that. This one, though, is set up specifically for the HEQ gimbal module here that I have to show you. And it's set up for dual operation or single operator with the stabilized camera being the second camera option. Again, 3-inch. It's got a quick release system here. It's a mount that, again, is attached to the gimbal. I'll show you the gimbal, but the gimbal can be positioned in any direction, 360 degrees on this mount. It doesn't matter which way you want to lock it in, which is important for this gimbal because this gimbal does not do 360 degrees of full rotation. So there are some limitations, like I said. We will talk about the gimbal limitations in a minute, but this is running, again, 2 air units, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is there are a few best use cases that I can say for how to operate 2 air units together. However, the reality is it takes a lot of testing of your own with your own settings and your own setups and taking notes, validating those things. And I would do that in a controlled environment with not a lot of RF noise. So big, open, wide space away from all kinds of Wi-Fi and anything else, right? That's going to give you the most consistent data points to be able to understand what helps and what doesn't. I will say a couple of quick best practices. One, never bind the 2 modules to the same goggles, specifically because the goggles will then be searching for those modules and trying to connect to them, and it'll cause connection issues. It also messes with the radio connection. Your radio connects to the goggles nowadays with these newer models, and so if you have the radio and the goggle bound to the air unit and then you go bind it to another air unit, it wants to talk, right? So again, you need 2 sets of goggles for this, and you really want goggle 3 for the DJI-04s. The goggles 2 will work, but it limits some of the settings and some of the things that you're going to want to do in terms of, again, testing and settings. The other thing that's best practice. Power on the drone and connect your goggles to the drone first, and then power up the goggles that you're using for the air unit on the gimbal and connect it to that. And again, that's one of the reasons why you don't want to connect everything together and have them all mixing, matching, because they're going to want to connect. And so you can power both air units up at the same time to connect your FPV goggles to the pilot side first, which is the most important side, so you don't crash. But you also don't have to power this on, and I'll show you the module in a minute, but our newer module has the ability to be plugged in really easily and quickly, so you can go ahead, it's all self-contained, and you can wait to plug it in until after. And again, the reason is these goggles and these modules are trying to find each other, they lock into each other, and they then are bound, right? And so you really want to make sure everything locks in properly before starting to go fly. That being said, channel settings. You're going to want to play with channel settings. Power. I would always have a little bit higher power set to the drone side than the gimbal side, because again, you want this to overpower this. The other thing is you want to stand really far apart. Your goggles are sending and transmitting. You're getting reception. You can block reception from the other person if you're too close. So you really want to be separated as much as possible that you can, so you can communicate via radio or other device. But you really want to make sure you're also flying out in front of yourself and not to the side of one of you or the other person, because again, you're going to block those transmissions, right? So just things to note are, it is not a quick and easy, simple, just go grab it and go fly it, and it's, I'm not going to have any problems. You're really going to need to test and understand best practices, and then on location, you're going to want to do the same thing. So powering on separately, higher power here. I would lower the bandwidth possibly on both. I would set the channels manually. All those things that, again, keep them separated. So again, up to you to really identify those things. I cannot really say too much more about it. So Wind 3, blah, 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 flies about 3 to 5 minutes with this battery pack. Depends on how hard you fly it, right? What type of environment. But that's about the flight time you're going to get. It's the same as with our full-size GoPro, essentially. So So self-contained little module here, right? Like I said, we've got our HEQ gimbal. We've got a BEC built into this base, this spacer here. And if you're wondering why not bring everything closer together, it doesn't matter how close you bring things together, you're going to need to separate them back off. And that's because when you mount the gimbal and you're flying, you need to avoid the drone body as you tilt, right? So you really actually could go even longer than this to get it even further away. But this really does really well on both top mounts. So you can do top mount upward or you can do lower mount downward. To do the different upward and downward, you do have to flip the camera around because you can't flip the image in the goggles. And you also have to go into the software for the gimbal and tell it that it's upside down or right side up, depending on which way you want it. So when it initializes, it fully initializes. The other thing about the gimbal module, again, fully self-contained BEC. It's powering both the air unit and it's powering the gimbal. This one is set up to work with the DJI S-Bus radio. We could do it also with a receiver, another receiver to talk to it, but right now it's running just literally off the S-Bus radio. So I hear my goggles over here, my radio beeping. We're gonna show you. So when the gimbal is not connected to a radio source, it just goes into its default, which is just gonna just hold position and just stabilize the image holding straight forward, right? So that's that. We do have a little bench adapter, but this one I'm just gonna power with the gimbal here. So power it up, it's gonna initialize. All right, and now we have the ability to control the gimbal with the radio stick. So pitch, roll, yaw, all those things. But this is where I was telling you, so you'll notice that the yaw, it only goes about, I think it's 240 degrees total, so about 120 degrees each direction. So this is why we need the ability to go ahead and move the gimbal, turn the gimbal in different directions. If you want to face rearward, you're going to have to turn the gimbal around rearward, right? We can also center the gimbal there and get it centered up. So at any rate, yeah, so that's the gimbal setup, right? And again, if I go ahead and I power this guy down and I reboot, it's just going to go into, like I said, that stabilized mode where it just moves around and does what it wants. All right, so that's a look at our gimbal setup. Hope you enjoy it. Fly safe, fly smart. Just fly. Peace.